Hello and welcome to my live for today. Good morning. It's about 8:30 Pacific Standard Time, and I forgot to put my messages on hold while I do the live, or else it's going to beep 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 beep, and then nobody's going to be able to hear anything. There we go. That's better. Okay. So what's the live for today? Well, the live for today is crimmigration. Okay, what is that? That's not cremation, as in, you know what that is. It's crimmigration. It's a combination of words of immigration and criminal law. Criminal law, immigration, crimmigration. Okay. And the two intertwine. Okay, they're very related. And so I want to discuss a little bit about what this is when you're faced with a possible crime and what you need to look out for, and just basically an intro. I've done different aspects of crimmigration, but sometimes it's good to go back to just the definitional basics to understand more what it is, so people have a feel for the consequences of what they do and so forth. Okay. So what I'm going to do after is I will answer your questions. Okay. And I'll go through each one until I get to the end. And then I was thinking, I'm not quite sure how this works, but I was thinking that I would pick one person who wanted, and then if I do this right, I'm a little new at this particular aspect of it, but if I do this right, then what would happen is I would pick one person to do a consult, where they could ask me questions live, on the live. And then I would just go back with them a little while back and forth as to what needs to be done and procedures and so forth. And of course, assuming that I do that, the person on the other end would obviously have to know there's no attorney-client privilege, because you can't possibly expect privacy if I'm going to do a live consult on a TikTok live. Okay, come on. And we'll see how it works. Okay, I don't know. I'm not even sure how to press to get that to happen, but I'm game. So if you're interested, once I'm done with my spiel and you want to have a consult on this live, let me know, and I'll just go through and I'll press one. Okay, we'll see how it goes. Okay, so let's get to it. So, crimmigration. So, one of the biggest things that ends up getting people deported, removed, making them inadmissible, and so forth, is when they, for example, have the green card, and even if they don't have the green card, they're here on an H-1B or a non-immigrant visa, whatever, and whether they commit the crime or not is a question, but something happens, criminally speaking, and they go to criminal court, and they're just so tired and they're so scared, and they just want to take care of it, so they take the first plea that's put on the table. Okay, I mean, the attorney says, well, look, if you don't take this, they're going to try it to the full extent of the law, and if you lose, you're going to go to jail for 5 years and this and that. But if you plead to this, then you'll do 3 months, and then you have 3 years community service, whatever, and then you're home free. The big problem with this is that obviously immigration law and criminal law are two different laws, okay? Two different beasts, okay? And Well, immigration law is federal and goes all the way around the U.S. And not to say it's the same everywhere. I mean, that's not what I'm saying. I mean, obviously, application of areas of immigration law would be different, for example, in Texas than it might be in California, based on circuit law precedents and BIA, Board of Immigration Appeals opinions, whatever. The reality is that if you have a criminal situation, you cannot rely just on what the criminal attorney says. Number one, it's in their interest to help you criminally, but to also try to dispose of the case through a good plea. But once you're done with the criminal side of things, guess what kicks in? Immigration. And guess what ultimately ends up being more important, that affects you more? Immigration. Because you might be deported the rest of your life, you might lose your status as a green card holder, all kinds of bad stuff. And the fact of the matter is that if you are in a situation faced with a crime and you have a plea on the table, in your mind, it might be a misdemeanor, might be no problem at all, might be just a little thing. But under immigration law, it might not. Okay? You might end up pleading to something that makes you an aggravated felon, deported for life, no chance of coming back, no chance of naturalization. Okay? So there's all kinds of ways that pleading without an immigration attorney helping you could ruin or certainly make much worse your life. Let me just give you an example. Okay, I'll just give you an example. Let's say you stole something. And let's say it's kind of big. We're talking not a piece of gum, but whatever. Something bigger. And they put the plea on the table and they say, look, you've already served a month before trial, before you were able to bond out. And now we're willing to put on the table to give you a year sentence. The judge might even say, I'll even suspend any more time actually in jail. And then 3 years probation, and that's it. And you might be thinking, well, gosh, I don't have to serve any time in jail. That'd be great. And they're giving me just a year. No problem. I will definitely plead guilty to that, right? And the next thing you know is after you're put in removal proceedings, you're considered an aggravated felon, your green card's taken away, you're ripped away from your family, you are deported the rest of your life as an aggravated felon. Now, let's rewind before you agreed to take the plea, and let's say that you asked an immigration attorney, like me, about this. I would have looked at that and said, well, number one, you absolutely, positively do not want a year sentence, whether it's suspended or not. That's irrelevant under immigration law. It doesn't matter if you don't serve a day in jail. I would say you do not want a year sentence with a theft crime, because that will make you an aggravated felon. You won't qualify for a bunch of relief if you're put in removal proceedings, and you'll be deported the rest of your life unless you do criminal relief and all kinds of other stuff that might happen. Okay? And so, in order to do that, I would have said, instead of taking a year plea, take 364 days. Okay? And you might be thinking, 364 days, what's the diff? It's 1 day diff. Okay? Well, it makes all the world of difference. because 364 days doesn't fall under being an aggravated felon. The law is clear on this. Theft crime with a sentence of a year or more makes you an aggravated felon. So I would have said just plead to 364 days. Now the judge and the criminal attorney, the prosecutor, they'd look at that and go, so what? 364 days, you still get a slap on the wrist, you still plead, we still don't have anything? It's no problem for us. We'll make it 364 days. No difference for us. But it's all the difference for you. Why? Because you had an immigration attorney advise you to do that. Okay? So that's what I'm talking about with crimmigration. The intersection of criminal law and immigration law, such that it is critical, no matter how small you think your crime might be. If you're going to take a plea, you have got to get a consultation with an immigration attorney who will work with the criminal attorney and get the plea in such a manner that doesn't hurt your immigration status to the degree if you just took the plea. It doesn't mean sometimes you might not be put in deportation. Okay? I mean, we can't always guarantee that. However, if you're put in deportation and you pled properly, you might have a good chance of winning. Cancellation of removal for lawful permanent residence, certain waivers, and so forth. Okay? So that's how that works. And in fact, the U.S. Supreme Court essentially made a ruling that when pleading guilty, you have to be advised of your immigration consequences, not just, pro forma. There might be some consequences if you plead guilty, blah, blah, blah. But a real, knowledgeable understanding of what the consequences are if you plead guilty. Okay? So there's lots of different avenues and effects and places that, we ultimately can talk about cremation, but this is the intro to understand the basis of it and how it is so important. Okay? So never think you can, for sure don't think you do this yourself, okay? Just take a plea, whatever the prosecutor gives you without even a criminal attorney. But assuming you have a criminal attorney, don't take the plea unless you also get an immigration attorney. Very important. Okay? All right. So that's that. So let me go back and let's see what we have as far as the question goes. And I may or may not just click on someone to, I think it says invite here to do a consultation if they want. But I need, if I'm going to do that, and I might not do it this time, but if I'm going to do that, whoever wants that has to say that they want a consultation, but also they understand there's no attorney-client privilege. Okay? We need to make it crystal clear. Okay. Green card applications with advanced parole are now on hold. Any idea when the hold will be lifted? You have any idea when Trump will be out of office? I mean, you think I'm joking, but it's just getting worse with him. So I do have an idea. If you have a green card application, make sure that that goes through. If that's stopped, which there's been some issues with, valid asylum holders who have been granted asylum having their applications stopped, you get into federal court. Okay? He can't snap his fingers and do that. So you get into federal court, have the judge order that the law needs to be followed and that there's no basis in which to stop the adjudication of the green card. As far as advanced parole, that just means, you're not going to be able to leave to go see your mother or whatever. Again, you could theoretically sue on that, but why? Just get the green card application through and make sure it's the best it could be. Okay? All right. Hi, this is for Lovepreet. Hi, I have my A number mixed up with another person. I am a green card holder and he is an asylum seeker. Well, how do you know that it's mixed up? I mean, are you saying that your A number is on their, for example, work permit, okay, I need to know what exactly is mixed up and how you know it. And I can let you know what can be done. Okay, how is it possible it got mixed up? How do you know all this? Okay, is it true if I got asylum proof from court, it is stronger than asylum office waiting for my green card still? No. No. It makes no difference. An approval is an approval. Okay? If you get an approval from the asylum office, that's an approval. And then 1 year after, you're eligible to apply for the green card. If you get an approval from the immigration judge, 1 year after, you're eligible to apply for a green card. You don't have to prove that which one's stronger. You just have to show you got the approval. If you're waiting for your green card still, are you certain you applied for residency? Okay. Moral got the #1 gifter badge, which has just gone to ICE removal operations. Okay. Sir, my family passed their parole interview in Pakistan and waiting for a memo since 3 months. Well, how do you know they passed the interview and what kind of parole? You understand that Trump has, cut all the TPS, has tried to stop all the parole, okay? So in order to, make it happen, you have to try to see what else you might qualify for, okay? And you might qualify for other things. So what I'm doing is I'm obviously looking for other things that people would qualify for other than parole or TPS. Because if they qualify for parole or TPS, chances are they might qualify for something else that is still on the table without issues. Okay? All right. Sir, my family... wait, I just answered that. Okay, 1 sec. Hey! That's Abdo. Well, hello, Abdo. Okay. Just booked a consultation. Appreciate it. When your name comes up when we're doing the consults, I'll see how I can help you. Okay. This is from Ahmed. I'm moving to Romania and want to start an immigration law. Can you give any advice? Not really, because I do U.S. immigration. If you were in Romania moving here, then I could give you all kinds of advice. But I have no clue what Romanian immigration law is. Okay? I would have to question, if you're moving to Romania, are you trying to start immigration law for people to move to Romania? Or are you thinking that you're going to do something to help people in Romania come to the U.S.? And if that's the case, are you an attorney? Because otherwise, if you're not an attorney and you're advising people on immigration law to the U.S., that, of course, would be a violation, practicing law without a license. Okay. Let's see. Is it safe for Americans to vacate overseas and come back? Had you asked, this is from Fern. Fern, had you asked that, of course, before Trump, I would have thought it's humorous that you even asked that, saying, of course it's okay. But now, because of what our beloved president has done, even in Canada, there are a lot of people who don't like Americans. Okay? I mean, it's not our fault he's doing what he's doing, but the rest of the world doesn't see it like that. Okay? Unfortunately, a lot of the world looks at Americans now with distrust and hate because of what he's doing. So, I would think twice about going overseas. And then even if you go overseas, I would think twice about which country. I would look very carefully at the political situation there and look for current political reports. Because if there's antagonism towards Americans, which, based on what he's doing, you can't, who knows? you don't want to put yourself in that position. So you might want to just, take a nice river cruise from Mississippi up to Chicago type thing. Okay. All right. This is from Impala. I'm a permanent resident of a class 1 misdemeanor. It's been dismissed. How can I travel to Mexico? Well, first of all, I need to review the records on how exactly it's been dismissed. Okay. Because under immigration law, many times a dismissal, while it may be effective in criminal law, has nothing to do with immigration law, and it's not dismissed under immigration law. For example, let's say you have a drug offense. You go to court, they say, okay, I'm going to put this under diversion. You're going to go to 12 classes to show you're not a drug user. Then you're going to come back, prove you went to the 12 classes, and then I'll dismiss the case, no judgment. Okay. It looks like there shouldn't be a judgment because nothing was ever entered. But the reality is under immigration law, that in fact is a judgment and it is against you. Okay? So it depends on the case. All right. Just a second. Okay. I have FOIA results. Well, Lovepreet, that's great, but now they have to be interpreted. So you can call my office. I'll let you know what it takes to review the FOIA. Normally what happens, I review it. I prepare a memorandum on what needs to be done with costs and procedures, and we go from there. Okay? Lucindan sent N400, been divorced for 4 years. Should I expect bad? Okay. I mean, I'm kind of interpreting what you're saying here, but first of all, if you're going to send the N400 to be naturalized, and you're already divorced, you're obviously going to do the 5-year naturalization, not the 3-year based upon marriage to a U.S. citizen. So it doesn't matter that you're divorced. But I need to make sure that you got the green card in a legal, proper manner and all the other things that qualify for the N400. Okay? But the fact you're divorced by itself is not a bar to naturalization in this case. Okay. Please, my lawyer send my legal brief 1 year ago. I still don't have a decision. How long does it take? This is from TOE. I mean, the question is, where was it sent? Was it sent to the Board of Immigration Appeals, USCIS, BALCA, Department of State? And for what? I need to know. Okay, have my marriage hearing for asylum next month. They keep delaying many years until I got, and then, of course, it cuts off. Well, first of all, if you already have your asylum hearing and it's set for next month, you better prepare for it, okay? You better get a lawyer because you're going to find out, trying to do an asylum hearing by yourself is the opposite of what you should be doing, okay? A lawyer who did a motion to advance. Having a good lawyer makes such a big difference. Sal, I'm in agreement with you. Okay. I'm waiting on the embassy appointment. It's taking too long. Well, welcome to the world of U.S. immigration. If it's like too long as far as the norm too long, you could always do a writ of mandamus to force them to make the decision. But then you have to, of course, have a really approvable case to do that, and I need to see. Okay, I applied for my wife's I-130 overseas in March 2024. Is a normal wait time. Well, it takes about a year for consulate processing if there's no issues, give or take. Okay? My asylum green card approved 2 months ago. Can I apply to home country passport for travel? Okay. Well, first of all, if you got the green card approved and you have it, you don't have to apply for anything to go to your home country. You can just go. I know you're worried because you got asylum because you claim persecution from your home country, but as long as you don't stand on TV and go your hair and keep in the background, it should be okay. Okay, sir, my family case is humanitarian parole, which started in 2021. Okay, there's no question here, but humanitarian parole takes a very long time, but it depends what country you're from, but, if you have a decent chance and it's just sitting there, you might need to do the writ of mandate. Okay. Well, anyways, the questions keep coming, but I think that's going to be it for the live for today. I will consider. Oh, you're welcome, Lovepreet. I will consider sending an invite to, a guest for a consult next time once I figure out more how to do it. Okay? All right, everybody have a good day.